Williams, Executive Director of the International Association for Energy Economics. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar entitled Energy Poverty in the EU Level, Drivers, Consequences, and Inspirational Local Cases for Addressing It. We're grateful to our speaker, Dr. João Pedro Gouveia, for today's timely discussion. But first, a little bit about the International Association for Energy Economics. We are the largest association specializing in the field of energy economics and provide a forum for the exchange of ideas, experience, and issues amongst professionals interested in the field. The organization produces 2 professional journals, a newsletter, and holds conferences and virtual presentations, along with a host of other products and services that you can find at our website at www.iaee.org. If you're not already a member of the association, we welcome you to join. A few housekeeping matters in regard to today's webinar before I hand things over to our speaker. First, this webinar is being recorded for those that cannot participate in today's live event. If you have questions for our speaker, please click the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window and type your question. We've allocated sufficient time at the end of this webinar to address your questions. And now, I would like to introduce you to our speaker, Dr. João Pedro Gouveia, who is a senior researcher and invited assistant professor at Nova University of Lisbon within the Center for Environmental and Sustainable Research. We also wish to thank the Portuguese Association for Energy Economics for sponsoring this webinar with IAEE today. João, over to you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. Let me share my screen. So, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, where are you from? I'll be talking today about energy poverty at the European Union level and focusing on the drivers, consequences, and inspirational local cases for addressing it. So, as Dave mentioned, I'm part of the Portuguese Association for Energy Economics as well, and from Nova School of Science and Technology. On this presentation, I will also explore our work at the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub for the European Commission. So a part of the presentation will go into our activities and key deliverables that might be relevant for you now and for the next month. So this is a brief summary and outline of my presentation on this webinar. So first I will focus on the energy poverty at European level. Then I'll show you the challenges, the main challenges around research and policy on the policy arenas about this problem. And then, as I mentioned, the focus on the EU Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, or HEPA. So focusing on our local solutions, on training and capacity building, and technical assistance we are providing to member states and municipalities. So energy poverty is really a hot topic nowadays at European level, but also at the global scale. But this problem links with 3 relevant UN Sustainable Development Goals, in my opinion. So that's why I'm bringing them here to this PowerPoint. So the first one on no poverty, the third one around the situation that the Europeans and other consumers live in their houses about good health and well-being, so the need for that. And then the 7th UN Sustainable Development Goal, the affordable and clean energy, that relates to the most relevant solutions to address energy poverty. So around the integration of renewable energy and also improving energy efficiency of our building stock and our equipment. When we look at the European level to energy poverty, so this is a concept that is being discussed for over 2 decades, but mainly now at the European Commission level and then at member states is getting some increased momentum. So on the early 2000s, energy poverty relevant challenges were started to be acknowledged in some European Union debates. We have seen in 2009, the first legal recognition on the third energy package, which also highlighted the protection of vulnerable customers. That said, this is at the European level because early research and early policy have happened, especially in the UK and in Ireland. So in the decade of 2010-2020, there was really increased attention and multiple studies and reports, both funded by the European Commission and the European Parliament, and several European projects have researched and go in depth into energy poverty in multiple perspectives. Also, there was in this period the launch of the Energy Poverty Observatory, so let's say the predecessor of our work at EPAH, and also cost action that brought together called Engager, Energy Poverty Action, that brought together researchers and practitioners all over the world, but especially around the different European member states. Then in 2015, the Covenant of Mayor signatories have signed up to take actions to assess the part of access to energy, which includes, on that perspective, energy poverty. In 2018, 2019, tackling energy poverty was really starting to pick up and focus as a policy priority for at the EU level, but promoting that assessment at the member state level, so under their national energy and climate plans or specific strategies trying to address energy poverty. Back in the end of 2020, there was this recommendation for energy poverty published as a part of the European Union communication on the renovation wave. So it started putting more specific guidelines for member states to assess energy poverty and take specific actions. Then starting in January 2021, a team of different entities come together to work around the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub that I'll address a bit later. So exactly what's happening at European level on energy poverty? So there are several estimates and using different types of indicators, which I'll also explore a bit next. But we can understand that there are a range of around 34 to over 100 million Europeans currently experiencing some facet of energy poverty problem. So either cannot heat or not being able or have difficulties to heat or cool their homes. They have probably areas in the payment of energy bills. They have very high energy expenditures, or they are living in inefficient or housing with problems of humidity and mold. So this shows, and it's not only energy poverty is not only focused on this part, but this shows several dimensions of energy poverty at European level, which calls for in-depth assessments and policy action. So in fact, this is a growing number in several member states, which have been further aggravated by the confinement, all the COVID situation, the remote working, people even recognizing more their vulnerability. And also not only recently, but especially recently, the increase of energy prices, which has increased the vulnerability of several member states and the families. So there is really a urgent need for action to better understand the problem, to create specific policies in the different countries and local authorities to address the energy poverty and focus on its resolution. So I'll bring you now a couple of challenges that we have been facing to address energy poverty. So first, energy poverty is really a complex phenomenon. So that's why we are still kind of even struggling a bit on the definitions and which indicators might be useful for its identification and monitoring. So, but in fact, it's a complex phenomenon because it includes different forms. So it can be the difficulties of keeping the house warm in the winter or cool in the summer. It brings the perspective also of energy bills, income, also the part of the social aspect of the situation. So the vulnerable consumers, it relates to health and well-being, and also relates to social inclusion of the different populations around our member states. So in fact, when we look into energy poverty, we see that it intertwines different ministries in the different countries. It can be housing, it can be energy, it can be environment, it can be the social aspects of the problem. So it's really important to bring everybody together and trying to address this problem in different locations. What we also know, and that's why I put this on kind of bullets, I think that these are the 5 main drivers of energy poverty. First, it's this double vulnerabilities. It can be a problem in different countries. Around winter, that was in the past the priority and where the problem arose. But then this combination of winter and summer vulnerability. and the expected impacts of climate change with a higher number of extreme weather events, cold spells, and hot periods, it really influences a lot of dimensions and a lot of regions in Europe and in the world with this problem. Then we have this central piece, in my opinion, central piece of the problem. So the old and inefficient dwelling stock with structural problems. So mold, humidity, lack of insulation in several countries. So this brings a really an in-depth problem of vulnerability in our building stock. Then we have the high energy prices. So it's electricity, high energy prices of electricity, high natural gas prices. So this influences a lot how Europeans consume energy, and also how we can make the change for increased decarbonization of our energy systems, and make the change around not only the energy system level, but also in our households. Now we can shift fuels and create more sustainable and reliable and lower cost solutions. So also, and related to this, is the use of inefficient equipment or pollutant fuels in our indoor environment. So a lot of people are using biomass in fireplaces, still the use of boilers, natural gas or coal boilers, which not only impacts the air quality and the well-being inside our homes, but also has consequences in the case of fossil fuels related to greenhouse gas emissions. And then also one of the key pieces of the problem, the main drivers are really the income, the inequality, so low income levels, but also the inequality in multiple countries. So we have been assessing that using the Gini index, but it's around the high share of population. The difference between the higher income households and the lower income. And we have in most European countries, a high share of population under poverty risk. So this kind of sets the scene for the problem and the basic drivers for assessing the challenges as well. So we are put what I think are the most relevant challenges. It kind of encompasses all the supply chain, I would say, the chain of understanding the problem. So it's first is around the definition. There have been a lot of discussion EU and member state level around the energy poverty definition. It should be, in my view, it should be seen as a framework for action, not exactly something linked to specific indicators or that can give you a fine perspective of the problem. It's more on a general and broad senses that we can, below the definition, we can set for targets and design proper policies encompassing all the different drivers. So then there is a part of measuring and monitoring. This is a critical piece, which is still not very clear in different levels. So not at the local authorities level, at the national level. So we are still, there is still a lot of ongoing research on this to quantify the levels of energy poverty and identify specific households to support them. So there are problems of data protection, there are problems of data availability, but this is relevant. This is one of the most relevant parts. Then the part of the targets. So how to create and design and define energy poverty reduction levels. This is also linked, of course, with the policies component. So this brings also relevant challenges. So how to implement policies and measures for energy poverty reduction. So how to monitor, measure, assess the impact of those policies on the indicators or on the numbers we have on the baseline situation. And now we can understand and evaluate the changes. So what we can say is that around definition, there is no EU legal definition of energy poverty, but there is this kind of a general and broad consensus on this wider definition, which says that individuals or households that are not able to adequately heat, cool, or provide other required energy services in their homes at affordable costs might be in some dimension of energy poverty. So and this, as I mentioned before, it's caused by a combination of low incomes, but not only these three, but the combination of low incomes, high energy prices, and inefficient building stock. When we look to the part of the measuring and monitoring, the multidimensionality of the condition means that this is not really captured by a single indicator. So not only one dimension of the issue. And there is also a relevant lack of detailed and key data that allow us to do a cross-country comparison or a detailed regional analysis. But from this figure, this is coming from OpenExp report back in 2019 that created an index that combined energy expenditures component, the winter discomfort, the summer discomfort, and the quality of the dwellings, brought this together to create this national level energy poverty index that shows clearly a divide between north and western countries and eastern southern countries on energy poverty. We really can see the red and yellow countries which the vulnerability to this problem is higher. When looking to other types of indicators coming from Eurostat, for example, I bring here 2 examples of indicators that are withdrawn from Eurostat and their surveys. So on the left, you can see the idea here was to highlight Portugal. So Portugal is where I come from, but as an example. So since energy poverty is not easily measured by one indicator, it clearly shows also the surprising results that can happen depending on the indicator we are using. So that's why we need to bring together a bulk of indicators to better understand the phenomenon. So here what we can say, see, it's on the left, it's the inability to heat the house. Portugal is one of the most vulnerable countries at the European level. But on the right, it's the indicator areas on utility bills. So it kind of, if you were using the left one only, Portugal is one of the worst countries, which in fact, unfortunately it is. But on the right, because of other issues and under consumption problems, the type of energy we are consuming with a lot of use of biomass, which is not unfolded on the energy bills, it shows that we might be on a good situation, which is not the case. So that's just to highlight these two maps, to highlight that the need for bringing together different types of indicators with the different dimensions. So the part of the energy efficiency of the buildings, or the consumption patterns, or the income, or the part of the energy prices, to better understand and have an idea at the EU member states level what are the situations. Then another challenge that I mentioned before, the targets and policies. So facing energy poverty is increasingly becoming a priority for many local authorities and local governments, and tailored local action and policies based on the accurate identification of vulnerable consumers are really needed. So we are pushing that front on research as well. And what we can say for now is that when looking to the targets and policies, the focus on tailored measures could be organized in 4 priority areas. It can be around energy efficiency. It can be around payment supports and expenses reduction. So the first one more on the building stock and the equipment we are using. The second one more around the energy bills. Then the third one around consumers protection. So avoiding disconnections and similar problems. And then a really important layer as well. So less specific and less structural to what we are doing, but really relevant to better make our choices and know what to really to do. So it's the information, knowledge, and education. I bring here a couple of examples of the next part measures that could be integrated in each of these 3 areas of priority. So around energy efficiency, of course, it can be measures addressing the building's renovation. It can be the replacement of equipment. It can be the part of integration of renewable energy, either through the generation or storage. It can be to foster increased access to energy efficiency financing schemes. So all of this around energy efficiency can have as expected results, and also the links with the UN SDGs that I mentioned in the beginning. So the increased energy and environmental performance of our homes, the increased thermal comfort in our households as well, and overall reduced energy needs. So that creates less needs for energy consumption. Then another key part of the measures would be the payment support and expenses reduction. So it can be either, for example, an energy social tariff, which some countries have, or it can be also relevant, the extraordinary support for payments of energy bills during extreme and impactful events. So we have seen COVID, now we have this situation ongoing with the Ukrainian and Russian war. We have the part of, so this might be a relevant solution in some aspects to avoid disconnections and to avoid the increased problems of thermal comfort and access to energy in some locations. Then we have the awareness actions for promoting behavioral change and increase energy literacy. So around this, it can be the expected impacts can be the reduction of energy expenses. It can be the increase of families' disposable income, or it can be the increase of social cohesion and access to essential energy services in our countries and homes. Then around another set of measures and priority actions, the consumer protection. It can be the mechanisms to ensure energy service provision for consumers in depth. It can be the wider discussion we have been having also at European level of minimum energy services and related to buildings, for example, on the minimum performance standards. It can be the increased promotion of new forms of energy, decentralized, like renewable energy communities. So all of this can have relevant impacts on the quality of life, wealth, health and well-being on our households, but also increased access to essential energy services and more support to and protection of energy consumers. Ultimately, this part of the information, knowledge, and education. So it can be educational programs, it can be capacity building of professionals. We see a lot of problems when focusing, for example, on the renovation of buildings. There is a lack of knowledge, not only on the consumer part, but also on the agents. So the people that do the work or to better understand what might be the solutions we can do in our house with a specific budget. It's shall I put a heat pump, or should I put an insulation in my wall? So the consumers and the people do not know exactly what they can do with a tight budget. So this is an important piece of measures around energy poverty, to address energy poverty. So the focus will be on increased energy literacy or increased individual and most relevant group commitment to mitigate energy poverty. So putting this, like setting the scene phase, I would like now to bring the attention to our activities on the EU Energy Poverty Advisory Hub. So this is what we call the leading EU initiative, which is run by the European Commission at the request of the European Parliament. It's in fact a collaborative network of stakeholders and different agents aiming to eradicate energy poverty and accelerate the just energy transition of European local governments. So our focus and priority is less on the member states and more on the local authorities, and was founded under these three components. So the Energy Poverty Observatory, the EPAH, the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy around Europe, and the Clean Energy for EU Islands. So bringing the past initiatives together, we aim to be the center of energy poverty experience and expertise in Europe that will mostly focus on providing direct support to local authorities, online training already available, which I'll explore a bit later, a focus on research, especially on the part of the indicators that will support local authorities and civil society organizations, trying to build this increasingly wider network of different stakeholders and agents working on energy poverty at different levels. So it's not only around research, it's about bringing practitioners, bringing NGOs, bringing different layers of policy, coming together to better understand, discuss, and address energy poverty in the short and medium term. So when we start designing and the work we have been doing on EPAH, the advisory hub, we wanted really to create these synergies with all layers of governance focusing especially on the local level, which we understood that in the past was like the focus was more on the national level. So we might knew that Portugal was worse than Spain or better than the Netherlands. but in fact there was less guidance and less information and less focus on the local level. So we are trying to push that further with our different activities, and we hope to make this connection. We have been doing this connection with the Covenant of Mayors, but we hope that our activities might be really useful for municipalities and different local authorities when developing, for example, their sustainable energy action plans, bringing energy poverty to the discussion and understanding how those solutions they do for mitigation or adaptation of climate change can be also useful to address when addressing energy poverty. So in fact, EPAH methodology is designed together with the Covenant of Mayors, trying to seamlessly connect the work we've been doing with what the municipalities and local governments need to pursue under the Covenant of Mayors. So as I was mentioning, we focused a lot on local actions. So we have been researching and delivering important materials for local solutions and understanding local solutions. So currently we have three main components. One is the report on the left, which we call Tackling Energy Poverty through Local Actions, inspiring cases from across Europe. So we have over 20 cases that we explored, and we'll see some highlights after. Then we have a wider platform. So we have created what we call the EPAH Atlas. So the EPAH Atlas has over 250 and building more projects and measures that are being developed at the global scale. So it has clearly more cases now for Europe, but it's open for submission. So there you can have a look and explore what we have on our EPAH Atlas to be used as inspirational and check some interesting cases with different settings and different locations around the world. Then we have another relevant part of our work is an online course. So we'll be doing 3 components of this course. Currently, it's already available, the introduction one. So it's the introduction to energy poverty at European level and also to the advisory hub. And it's around 1 hour long. So I suggest you for checking on our website, energypoverty.eu, and explore all of these different materials we have been developing. It's important, and especially here with such a wide audience coming from different parts of the world, we have our report translated in all 24 European Union official languages. So for a deeper dive, you can better understand in your own language what is out there, the 24 inspirational cases. It provides really, so this was a selection coming from us when we were working on the Atlas itself. So it's examples from different regions, different types of stakeholders involved, different capabilities and skills integrated there, different target audiences. So we try to bring a diversity into this report, and I suggest you to have a look. On the report, what you can see, it's for each project, we have built this design where we have the timeline, as you can see it here. You have the location of the project, you have the connection to the most relevant SDGs. You have the energy poverty phases the project is addressing, the intervention type or the topics the project is focusing. And then, for example, also the professionals involved. So in this case, architects or social workers or specific technicians. So this is an example of a project called the Green Doctors in the UK, which covers capacity building and training, communication campaigns, consumer advice, protection and empowerment, and also household energy efficiency and refurbishment. So this is only a small part of the information we have available for each of the projects we have on the Atlas. Another example is this Danport Renovates. So this project is in Belgium, in Ghent. So the same structure for comparability is useful. And we have the household energy efficiency and refurbishment focus on this project, the heating and cooling systems around indoor comfort, energy access. So we have brought some wide examples that you can find both on the report for 24 cases, but then on the atlas. So here, the atlas was in fact during last year a huge collaborative work. So that besides our team experts from the core partners, it brought together an extensive network of experts and practitioners around the world. So we have projects submitted from the US, South America, Australia. So we have detailed, as I mentioned before, over 250 projects, mostly targeting local and regional scales. And we're collecting in the last, for now, last 8-9 months. And we have, it's open on our website for further submissions. So you can see here by the pink arrows, there are 3 main features of the atlas. So we have first the quick and advanced filters to narrow down the selection here on the top. Then we have here the map where you can zoom in and out searching for projects all over the world. So you can focus on a specific location. And then below the map, we have a list where you can scan through all of them and select the one you are most interested into looking deeper. So on the first part, on the filter, the projects and measures we collected are organized by what we call the energy poverty phases. So the diagnosis, and I think the PowerPoint now collapsed, but I'll open it again. I was explaining the part of the diagnosis and planning, the part of implementation. So we structured our projects and the local projects into those energy poverty phases. We tried to highlight specific keywords that would show us the relevance and make it easier for the users to check. And then we have also the intervention types. So we have 13 intervention types that range here on the bottom, that have a part of capacity building and training, financial mechanisms, stakeholders engagement, energy efficiency and renovations, policy support. So there are really a diversity of filters you can use to search for the projects. And then there is the structure of the geographical scale. So it's a regional project, it's a national project, it's a wider European or multi-country project. Then what we have also is the advanced filter. So if you are not, if it's the quick filter is not enough, you can have this predefined advanced filters where you can look specifically into intervention types. Here, different cases, either it's a project with smart meters or more focused in health or around energy audits, for example. And then another example, the professionals being involved in the projects, either it's engineering or journalists or technicians or volunteers, just for giving this multiple cases of examples around the world to make really cases of inspiration to local governments and other stakeholders to be involved in energy poverty action, research and action. Then focusing on the part of the atlas, I'm sorry, the PowerPoint also collapsed again, but I'll try to open it in PDF. Maybe it's too big. I'll just put it faster on PDF. I was talking, so we have this possibility of the atlas, we have this all the structure, so I'll just go there first. Sorry, yeah, I was talking about this one. So you have then the atlas where you can see examples of the project. You can link it and look deeper into what is out there in each project, because then you have this list and ultimately the most detailed cases for all the specific projects we have there. So we have a summary. There are 2 examples here, and Pover and Feminat. This one, for example, focus on energy poverty in the city of Madrid in Spain. We have the connection with the different SDGs that I mentioned before, type of funding, the intervention type. So more detail here, and the connection with either reports or the websites being developed by the project itself. So another important part of EPAH activity is around the training and capacity building. As I mentioned earlier, there are will be available free online training courses. We have the first one already available. It's a 1-hour course available on this website. So you afterwards, I'll share the presentation and you can see it with this link. So it's elearning.energypoverty.eu, which it's a presentation for all stakeholders. In fact, it's a background on energy poverty, probably similar to what I'm partially doing here on this one. And then on the next couple of months, we'll work on a compact course and then a more extensive course with specific different types of details for the different types of stakeholders as well. So already on the website, on this part of the support, there are the online courses, other components of the training catalog and the help desk that you can have a look and see for yourself. The first in the introduction course is also available in the 24 EU official languages. You can see here on the left a couple of examples. So this is free to use. It's available for everybody, so check it out. Then the 24 EU official languages here. Then we have the technical assistance, and that's the last part I wanted to focus on, the activities. We are now starting to build the support for local authorities to tackle energy poverty. So technical assistance is have a really tailor-made solutions components, which we try to give through the first, the municipality or the local government identifies and formulates their specific needs, what kind of support exactly they want on energy poverty in their regions. So, and then we try to connect, we evaluate the projects and we try to connect with the best expert that can support that local government to deal with energy poverty, or to monitor, or to better understand it, or to design something specific for energy poverty mitigation. So that's what we are trying to do now. The call for technical assistance was open in the beginning of February. It's running until mid-March, so local governments are encouraged to submit their request for support. And that's what I'm mentioning here. So who can be submitting these proposals for technical assistance? It can be local governments or organizations working together with local governments from all EU 27 member states that in fact want to start because they are only recently started recognizing and understanding the problem of energy poverty, or some others maybe more experienced that want to proceed and engage in different types of activities, and they need our help at the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub and from specific experts. So our objective is really to support local governments trying to push further this energy poverty mitigation and mission to reduce the vulnerability of European cities and regions. And we'll be giving up to 9 months of tailored support through a combination of specific experts to the local government needs, and also our EPAH team joint support. So this is kind of the flow of the technical assistance. So we are now on I would say the first and second stages. So we have the pre-application, where it's more or less what I highlighted here. It's our website. We have done in the last week several webinars in the different European countries. There are a lot of documents you can check for submitting your proposals. And then there is the online application part, which is ongoing. Was extended, so it's currently one month and a half until mid-March, so 15th of March, the deadline, which will be evaluated. If is successful or highly ranked, it will be created a scoping session where we'll match an expert to the problem of the municipality, and together we'll create a plan for action. Then will be the implementation around 3 to 9 months, and then the part of the monitoring. So after the project is developed, or the support, 12 months after 12 months of the project finish, we'll do a kind of a follow-up to monitor together with the local authority what was the result, what are the main activities they want to do afterwards. So everything is available on our specific website, on our page call.energypoverty.eu. All the information is available for your support on the technical assistance detailed document. I think everything it's clear there, but if you have any help, you can reach out to our help desk as well. So as a final slide, I would just want to highlight that really energy poverty is driven by different issues, but mainly it's the inefficient buildings, it's the low incomes, and it's the high energy prices that are the main drivers of energy poverty vulnerability around our member states, countries, and also the regions. And in my view, the main solutions to this structural problem must really be focused on focusing mainly on the energy efficiency part. So on the building stocks, so almost over 80% of the European building stock is old and inefficient. There is a lot to do. This is linked to the renovation wave, the 54-55 package. So there are a lot of things ongoing at European level that might help address energy poverty as well. So the focus should be on energy efficiency of the buildings, and then also as a second layer of solutions, the integration of renewable energy into our homes, either individually or at the community level with energy communities and so on. Also, it seems clear by the work we have been doing and the different agents around Europe that policies and measures aimed at mitigating energy poverty really need to be near the consumers, near the population. So the local level is really key to this support, and so that's why it's really relevant to look deeper into our countries, regions, neighborhoods to better understand how we can identify and address the problem of energy poverty. Then ultimately, and even because today was released one of the other reports of the IPCC, it's clear that climate change will be responsible for the increase of heat waves, cold spells, and really significant impact on public health. So which will clearly amplify, and we have seen that already, the vulnerability of the population to energy poverty. So this is really the four final messages I want to convey on this webinar. So I'll stop sharing my screen and see if there is specific questions on the chat. I see two here, and I'll, on this last 15 minutes of the session, I'll try to cover this one. So please type in additional questions. So this colleague, Verve, mentions heating and even cooling cost can be part of the rent. How this is taken into account in the definition? Well, this part of this is a relevant question, and I think I tried to mention this as well in my presentation. So it's important to have a wider framework. So when we talk about the definition, it should be bringing kind of all dimensions of energy poverty problem. It should encompass different sets of measures itself. It should not be linked to a specific indicator, for example, because it will forget other dimensions. So that's kind of the discussion. The European Commission try to promote the member states to create their own specific definitions. We have seen different examples. We have seen not a lot of member states have definitions, national definitions. For example, there is France have a definition, Belgium, Spain. In Portugal, for example, there is a draft version only, which I see there is a kind of a trend to be wider, which is, in my opinion, it's a good one. It's to give this wider perspective, not focusing, for example, only on the heating part, on income, but also bringing the part of the building stock covering heating, cooling, and other essential energy services. So that, I think this is a good part of moving forward into the definition. Also, a next step is clearly the part of how to link a definition, whatever the specific case, at the EU level or specific member states, to the indicators being used. That is the difficult part, because if we have a really constrained definition, we will rely probably only on one or two indicators, which might be misleading, as I showed you on that specific map. So What we are also seeing is that cooling is increasingly a point of concern, which is it's good to open the perspective of understanding energy poverty, not only at the let's say at the winter, but also bringing the summer vulnerability. Then another question, structural issues in the dwellings. What about the location of the dwelling? Should we invest in energy efficiency of dwelling that are likely to become unoccupied when their presence inhabitants die? Well, this is interesting question as well. So what in fact we know is that most European countries have old building stock. So it's a matter where to put, in fact, the money. In Portugal, we have made a specific research. We have an energy poverty vulnerability index that maps the 3,092 civil parishes in Portugal, so highly detailed both for winter and summer vulnerabilities. And with that tool, we were able to also understand the solutions and the costs related, for example, of buildings renovation. So we have been working with that. And what we identified was over 75,000 million euros, so billion euros of investment needed to retrofit the full country. So the whole building stock, which is a very huge amount. So as I think the question poses here, it's relevant to better understand what are really the most urgent needs, depending also on the location, if it's rural or urban, but also this investment on multi-apartment buildings against single houses, family houses, which is an interesting discussion. It's not clear how the governments itself are being supporting that change and that renovation of the building stock so much needed. And as mentioned, for example, on the European renovation wave, which says, and this is for me, it's a critical piece of uncertainty, is we see on one side the need for deep investment, but also we see slow renovation rates. We see not really deep energy retrofitting. We only see low renovations, low energy efficiency renovations. So how to push forward renovation as a key strategy, not only to improve the health of our citizens, but also related to reducing of energy poverty. So hopefully each member state will get a clear picture what they will do at their different regions, and trying to get more data, more assessments into that perspective. Now we have a question here from Miguel. What are the more common approaches collected in the EPAH and which are missing? Well, thank you, Miguel. What we have been identifying also is that when we talk about energy poverty, and I would say energy related issues, that people usually mention there is a lack of data availability. So when we are thinking of monitoring and identifying energy vulnerable and energy poor consumers, we might say that we need more data sets. We need more types of sources of data to allow us to better understand the problem. So what I'm seeing missing, and it seems like a future avenue for research, is around the energy communities. So we have been seeing different member states and identifying the role of energy communities as a centerpiece for the decarbonization, decentralization, and even energy poverty mitigation. But that's still really in an embryonic phase. So we see a couple of examples, but not really clear how that can be useful for energy poverty mitigation. So I would say that energy communities are a missing part there. Also, we see probably around data, the integration of more projects with, for example, smart meters data collection or the energy performance certificates. Those appear as alternative data sets that can be useful for this discussion. So I'm missing those projects in the field as well. Maybe they are out there, we didn't find them, or they simply do not exist. Then the common approaches, I would say, and that's a problem we identified, is really the focus on like behavioral and low-cost measures. So several of the projects we have there are coming from the European Commission, European Union funded. So, and they have limited time span, and the budget are limited as well. So it's difficult to, under those projects, and even funded by municipalities, to see, for example, deep renovations or wide schemes of support for consumers. So it kind of, a lot of projects rely on the behavioral and small changes done. So that's not enough to address energy poverty and to make this structural change. So I think that's a concern, and we need to look deeper into that. Another question here from Ayat. So how different the energy poverty can be for a developing and developed nation in terms of its definition? Okay, thank you. So we have seen that discussion often. I would say that when we are talking about a developing nation, it's more about the access. So it's about access to electricity. It's about access to different energy service, a wider set of energy services. So specifically on the definition, it's this idea that's not only about the difficulty, for example, to have thermal comfort or around affordability, is more about the structure, the access. So, and I would say that in developed countries, we focus more our work and research at the moment at the European level. So of course, they are already bounded by developed nations, but what we see is the infrastructure as well. So, and the solutions might be a bit different. It might be less on the energy efficiency, for example, of the buildings. It can be more on the integration of decentralized renewable energy solutions to get this wider access to energy and different modern fuels. Then do you have the documentation on the Portuguese Energy Poverty Index? Yes, I can share it later. So there is a couple of publications where we unfold our work on the energy poverty vulnerability index. It's called like that, in fact. We have this 3,092 regions mapped for Portugal. We have been using that not only for local action, but also for national support studies and even climate change adaptation strategies to link it to the regional vulnerability. I can tell you, Verb, that on our work, what we have done was bringing together information coming from not only climate on the different regions in the country, but also the levels of energy consumption, the theoretical energy needs, where we use base information coming from energy performance certificates. So we use 500,000 currently on our database. We have the key inputs of the energy performance certification scheme for 500,000 EPCs that we use for calculating energy needs, combine it with the energy consumption, and then we bring together the socio-economic dimensions. So we talk about the different types of vulnerable people, more on, for example, locations with elderly or children, the levels of income on each of the regions, unemployment rate. So we bring together different socioeconomic experts. I can share it later, the specific link. Then 2 more questions here. How can we link the lack of financial development to energy poverty? Well, that's why I would say income and energy prices are 2 of the 3 problems here. We see that countries with high energy prices and low income, for example, people tend to underconsume energy, so they create other coping strategies. They might have access to or in most cases, they have access to the electricity grid, for example, or the natural gas, but they decide not to heat, specifically not to heat their homes. They put an extra jacket, an extra blanket, and that's kind of trying to avoid, for example, having disconnections in the future or not being able to pay their energy bills. So it's there is a direct link between the number of people under poverty risk, the related to the high energy prices, high taxation on energy, which altogether, when we have a poor building stock, creates this higher vulnerability to energy poverty. We also see that when we compare, for example, Southern European countries with the Central and Northern European, which are richer. So the need for the financial availability to spend on energy is really relevant in this discussion. Then the question from Monica. How do you value the social tariffs in Europe? Do you think they are working? In Spain, we get more and more people leaving the social tariff because of high wholesale prices due to price gas surges. On which criteria do you think social tariffs should be designed? Thank you for the question, Monica. This is really an interesting discussion because, for example, in Portugal, we have an automatic system that gives the social tariffs to the households. So when we implemented the automatic system in Portugal, it raised from 60,000 people that have access to the energy social tariff to almost in fact, currently over 800,000. So there was an extreme jump of supported families. And what we've seen there was, okay, there was clearly a lack of knowledge that funding and support scheme was available. Then the complexity of submitting and getting access to that. But what's the problem? Social tariffs, in fact, are not really energy poverty solution. It doesn't provide a structural change, so it doesn't tackle the energy efficiency or so that it's a monthly support to pay energy bills and not really supporting infrastructural and structural change to energy poverty. What we also see in Portugal around the social tariff is that it's pushed forward by the government as an important solution to energy poverty, but it only considers that dimension. So it only considers the income, not exactly, it doesn't link, there is no possibility to link it currently to the energy efficiency of the housing, for example, or the other types of socioeconomic features of the families. So it's limited. I would say it's relevant even on these problems of the spikes of energy prices and this volatility of the markets. So it's relevant, but it's not, again, it's not providing structural changes, and it's not bringing everybody to the table as it could be, bringing other types of data sets and knowledge to address energy poverty. I think we got all the questions here somehow answered. There is another one here, sorry, from Malays. Last question probably to keep it in time. In face of recent developments in Europe and the European reliance on Russia's gas supply, shouldn't energy poverty indexes be somehow linked to energy imports? Well, I think this problem we are having now, this huge problem we are having now in Europe, will change the way we think about our future energy systems, in fact. So I think there is here an opportunity to really focus on energy efficiency, to bring forward renewable energy into the table more and more, to put money into those investments, to make it more sustainable future ahead. Not only sustainable as a matter of focusing on environment, but also financial sustainability of our countries and regions towards different types of imports of fossil fuels, specific here, the gas coming from Russia. So there are really alternative sources for this. We should prioritize that and put a lot of money now to that change to make it even faster, the transition. Back to you, Dave. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry for the PowerPoint problems here.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you very much for your time and your expertise this morning. Fascinating talk, in particular about energy poverty and access. Unfortunately, these matters still continue to this day, probably will be for some unforeseeable future as well. But the industry is pledged to help reduce both access issues and poverty. And for that, we're very grateful for your research and for the Commission's research in this very important topic. A reminder, this has been recorded, will be available on our website later on this afternoon. For those that aren't able to listen to this live, you do have an opportunity to share this with your colleagues. I thank you again for listening, and I wish you all a wonderful day wherever this finds you on our fine globe. Thank you.